Auzubillahi minash rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to week number 3, recorded lecture number 8. And in today's lecture, we are going to cover groups and team roles, that is related to our topic that we covered in the last lecture, lecture number 7. So these roles could not be covered, so they are being covered here. And we will also be discussing feedback that is quite often required in groups and team performances, and even apart from that, for individual performances also required. So let's start with typical team and group roles. The several roles can be grouped into 3 categories. Of course, there are many roles, multiple roles of typical team and group, but we are going to categorize them into 3 categories in order to understand them better and in order to retain them better. So the first roles that we shall be covering today, they are task roles. Secondly, we will talk about relationship roles among the team or group members, and finally we will discuss dysfunctional roles, that are negative roles that are harmful for the group and team performance. Okay, so let us begin with task roles in a group or a team. Well, these task roles, they actually help the group members meet its goal, because the overall goal for a group is same overall goal, but in a group their individuals can have some smaller goals. So these roles, they help the group members or the team members meet the group or the team goals. Well, number 1, this task role is initiator, right? This initiator defines problems, sets rules, and contributes idea. It means that every group member or team member preferably should be an initiator, so that he or she defines the problems. In case they are working on a problem and they are working on a project, so the person can define that problem, share and explain that problem well, right? Secondly, somebody who is an initiator, he or she also sets rules how to go ahead, how to proceed, how to complete that task, how to complete that project. And an initiator also contributes ideas for the betterment of the project, ideas for the betterment of the product, ideas for the betterment of overall contribution towards goal. So if those members have this initiator role, which is a positive role, so they can contribute in these 3 different ways, and of course in many other positive multiple ways. Well, second task role, that a group member is information seeker and information giver. These both are very important things. Number 1, being a group member or being a team member, he or she is willing to take the information that others share, other group members share. He or she is willing to take that information. He or she is actively listening to others, or the member is actively asking for information that is required for the project. This is one quality. At the same time, he or she is also willing to give the information. It's not that the person takes all the information to himself, whether he or she takes information from others, but when it comes to sharing the information with others, what he or she knows, he or she is not willing to give. So that is a negative characteristic. So task role is that the individual member of that group or team is both willing to take information from others, and at the same time he or she is also willing to contribute information to others. So it's both give and take, that is willing to take the information and is also willing to give the information. That is the second task role, which is of course very important. Similarly, it's the opinion is also very important. So the third task role a member should have, that is uh, opinion giver and opinion seeker. Opinion seeker means the opinions that other give, or he or she is willing to listen to others' opinion, others' point of view, and without any bias, without any prejudice, without any other negative feelings or thinking, he or she is willing to accept others' opinion. Well, he or she may not accept everything, but at least willing to listen and consider and analyze everyone's opinion. And at the same time, he or she is also willing to give his or her opinion. It's not only that you take others' opinion, and when it comes to you to give your opinion and you are not willing. So a positive task member or role task for a member is that he or she is both opinion seeker and opinion giver. Then the member is also direction giver, especially in case of his area of expertise. That if in a group there are 5 members, and if each member has his or her area of specialization, then the person, the individual, every member is direction giver. Especially in general, of course, there is direction, that if the person is more experienced, if the person is more knowledgeable in that area, he or she is there to give directions to maybe to the junior members, right? Maybe to the members who do not know that much in that particular area. So as we have already discussed that in usually in small groups and teams, each one of them has some specialization, some area of expertise. So in that particular area of expertise, he or she is willing to give direction to others who have less knowledge or understanding of the area in which he or she has expertise. So this is the fourth task role, that is direction giver, that he or she can give direction to other group members. Then fifth one role, positive role and task role, is summarizer, that he or she can sum up what others have said, so that if that was a long discussion, and he or she can come up with the few key points that were discussed in that meeting, or that are core of that project or that task, so that by summarizing these points for rest of the group members, he or she can make the task easy, so that people exactly know those key 4-5 points that they have to focus more. Is also a diagnoser. I mean, that's very important characteristic for a member, that he or she can diagnose people, whether a team member, for example, a team member may not be performing well uh, these days, and he or she can diagnose what is the problem. Maybe the team member has some family issue that can be resolved, because of that his or her performance is affecting. Or maybe, like, if any other member tries to play a negative role, like cheat or deceive, again, if you are a good diagnoser, you can easily find out that person. Third thing, he or she is able to diagnose the qualities, that there are 5 to 6 members, and he or she finds out that member A is good at analysis, so he or she is assigned analysis part. Member B is good at communication, interpersonal, so he or she is assigned that part. Member C is good at managing finances, so he or she is assigned that finance related part. So one can assign a specific and accurate and relevant tasks only when one is able to diagnose the nature and personality of a member. Then of course a positive role is also that he or she is energizer, that in case some or more than one team members get demotivated, so the person can energize them, bring them out of that disappointment. If they are tired, he or she can motivate them to do better and to struggle more and to perform better. So the team member is also a good energizer. Well, the next group relationship, next thing is role is group relationship roles. Well, these roles facilitate harmony, strong relationship among members. The previous roles that we have discussed, they were to target the goals for the group. Now these group relationship goals, they actually they are actually more concerned with harmony of the group among the members who are working and developing relationship among the group members. And so these are three main responsibilities in group relationship roles. Well, number one, participation encourager. That is a very important role for group relation. See, for example, in your group members, some members may be bit introvert. That does not mean they do not have ideas. They can have ideas that are better than those members' ideas who speak too much. But because their nature is bit introvert, and they are not too much willing to speak all the time, but if that is a participant who is good at it, he or she encourages such people to speak and share their ideas, which of course ultimately is beneficial for the group role. Such a person who is an encourager, he or she also encourages young members. Sometimes there are novice team members, right? And they feel hesitant, or they feel hesitation, they are hesitant to share their ideas because they feel, since they are new members and they may be making mistake, and they do not have confidence in their ideas. But if there is a member who is encourager, then he or she encourages those new members to share their ideas, right? And in many cases, new members' ideas, can be more effective than the experienced ones. So this participation encourager actually develops and works on many relationship, like new members relationship, like introvert relationship, like senior and junior member relationship. So the person works in many relationship and plays a very important role. The next one is harmonizer or tension reliever. Well, as we have seen in 4 phases of team or group development, we learned that first phase is norming, second is storming, where there are conflicts and all that. Third is norming. First was forming, second storming, third is norming, that they become normal and they resolve their conflicts. And then the fourth one is performing, where they all are ready to perform and bring productivity. But even after reaching the fourth stage, that is performing, there can be some conflicts. Conflicts can arise anytime in any team, even those very senior members, those who have been working for so long, can develop some conflict among themselves. So, uh, group relationship role, if the members are harmonizers or tension relievers, instead of uh, instead of making that tension prolong, instead of you know making that gap bigger between the group members or among the group or team members, so somebody who is a harmonizer, they try to bridge the gap, they try to bring the members closer, they try to overcome or reduce the tension. So again, this harmonizer or tension reliever is a very important goal and very important task that members should play. Then third one is evaluator of emotional climate, right? Sometimes, being human beings, we live with our emotions. It can be happy emotion, it can be sad emotion. In both of the cases, they can affect our team performance. So, if someone is a bit emotional in particular task or is a bit emotional because of some personal or maybe some organizational reasons, then a good member, team or group member can evaluate that emotional climate. That okay, fine, this person is in this state of emotion, and once he or she can evaluate the emotional or feelings, emotion or feelings of an individual, the person can be given slightly different task, or the person can be counseled to overcome that maybe that emotional feeling or that emotional climate. Then fourth very important characteristic is praise giver, right? So those members who praise the team members or the group members on their very small performances, actually that increases the productivity. That somebody performed well, so you praise the person, you encourage the person, you use positive good words for that individual. So ultimately, when that is done, the team or group performance increases. So a praise giver or uh, a motivator is another very important group relationship role that preferably each member should have, because when you praise somebody else, obviously you can expect praise from him or her for your job completion and all that. Then it is empathic listener, right? Since if you are working in a team, so the team shares many things with each other. The members, uh, you know, they rely on each other, they trust on each other, and they are very open to listen to each other. So, of course, not in every case, but in certain situations, a good group relationship role is that member should also be empathic listener. That if somebody has is going through a particular phase in his or her life where he or she requires empathic listening, listening to another member's feelings, to another member's emotion. Of course, that's not going to happen every day, but when and if there are certain phases in our lives that where we may feel bit down, for example, someone has a family related issue, someone's a family member passes away, then at that time another member very empathically can listen to him or her. Or there is a serious sort of problem maybe at the workplace, and maybe We cannot do anything to resolve it, but at least we can empathically listen to that individual who is passing through that suffering. So, empathic listener is also a very good characteristic that helps develop group relationship better. Well, there are some dysfunctional roles also. These are negative roles and they should be avoided. So one way to avoid them is that get we should familiarize ourselves with these roles so that we can avoid them. So, like, these roles hinder a group from moving forward to achieve its purpose. These are negative roles. Number one is a blocker. A blocker is somebody who puts down ideas or suggestions of others. Like, such people do not have appreciative uh, attitude towards others. Suppose uh, a member comes up with a reasonable idea, but the person who's a blocker will outrightly reject that idea and that suggestion, and that would even demotivate. So usually these blocker role, those who do not listen to others' ideas, those who do not consider other suggestions, that is a negative role, and that is going to have negative influence on the group or team performance. Well, the second is attacker. Attacker is a person who insults or criticizes and aggresses against others, right? You know, uh, attacker, a member who's attacker, he or she is going to criticize the performance of different members in the group, right? And usually is aggressive against others, and when other members know that somebody is going to attack their idea or is going to be aggressive against them, then in such cases members are very careful and they hardly speak up, or they feel uncomfortable in the presence of such members. Then third is recognition seeker. There are some people who want to be praised, who want that everyone should talk about them, everyone should praise them, everyone should just use positive words about them. That may or may not be true. So this sort of people who seek recognition unnecessarily, and that is a negative role, and that badly affects a group or team performance. Next is a joker. Well, having occasional jokes, of course, while having those occasional jokes, those jokes should be of reasonable jokes, worth sharing. They should not be substandard, they should not be biased against, like, a religion, against a gender, or against a linguistic group. So occasionally having jokes help even to relieve tension in a group or in a team. But too much excessive jokes, if there is somebody who never becomes serious and is always joking, so that joker role is also a negative role, because in most of the cases it would detract other members. Instead of discussing important ideas, relevant ideas, they may go off the track. So being joker is also a negative role. Withdrawer, somebody who participates very little or refuses to offer opinion. There are people, they are present all the time, but they hardly ever give their opinion, or they you know they actively do not participate in group or team meetings. So such people who are withdrawers are also a problem. Well, now moving towards types of feedback, that's the next topic we are going to cover today. And this topic we have first, let's talk about types. Broadly speaking, we have two major types of feedback. One is positive feedback, and the other one is negative feedback. We shall cover negative feedback in the next slide. So, in this slide, we are talking about positive feedback. Well, positive feedback covers a person's strengths. For example, like if you are in a group meeting and your group leader talks about your strength, that for example, Mr. A or Ms. A is a hardworking employee, right? Or uh, Mr. C is good at financial calculation. Ms. D is very strong in analytical skills. So these are what person's strengths. So when somebody talks about you, about your strengths, it is the positive feedback the person gives. Second, it is what an employee is doing well. You know, for example, the employee is performing well. The employee is, say the employee is performing his or her job well. The employee is a regular one, or such characteristics are positive feedback. And then praises good performance. I guess I have already covered them, but we can take one or two more example for good performances, like we can say, well, Ms. D you know worked very hard in achieving the last month target, so that is a performance appraisal, and that's part of positive feedback. So when you give somebody uh, feedback on his or her strengths, on his or her performance or tasks, that is positive feedback, right? And that should be given quite often, because those employees who get positive feedback, their performance is usually found to be better than those who do not get any feedback, or you know positive feedback motivates a person, and it should be given in public. If you want to talk about one's strength, so it will motivate the individual. For example, if you want to talk about one of the group members' strength, then you should talk it in a group meeting so that everyone comes to know about it, and it should be given in public, and the person feels motivated that his or her performance has been acknowledged. Well, informal positive feedback, the feedback can be both informal, like giving a comment about one's performance in a meeting, appreciating one's work, so that is informal positive feedback. And there can also be a formal positive feedback, like issuing a letter of appreciation to a team member for his or her acknowledging his or her effort. So that is a formal positive feedback. Or maybe giving some award to an individual against his or her performance, that again is formal positive feedback. So this positive feedback can be informal, and it can also be a formal. Well, a 2009 Gallup poll found that employees who receive positive feedback were 30 times more likely to feel engaged. They became more engaged in their work as compared to those who did not receive positive feedback. Well, next, second type of feedback is negative feedback. So negative feedback is actually pointing out weaknesses of a person and telling how to resolve, right? In positive feedback, we were discussing about the strength. In negative feedback, we are pointing out weaknesses of a person and it's also important that the person should be guided how to resolve that weakness. Well, it can be about an employee's attitude and behavior, that if somebody has a negative attitude or a negative behavior, so another member can point it out and suggest him or her how to overcome that. It can be negative feedback can be given even when his or her actions are unintentional. Even if somebody unintentionally did something, but even then, negative feedback should be given so that the person can improve and make an intentional effort to overcome that unintentional action that he or she performed. Well, positive tone should be kept in negative feedback. Negative feedback does not mean insulting others, degrading others, right? Letting others down. It negative feedback is given to help others improve. So, even in negative feedback, positive tone should be kept. For example, instead of saying you cannot do anything, this is a very negative tone. This is letting down others. One could have used a positive tone, such as, for example, well, with a little effort, you can perform better, right? So, next point is care for receiver's self esteem. As I have already said, that if you have to give negative feedback, it's better to give in private, means individually, instead of telling everyone about one's weaknesses. It's better to give in private so that one's self esteem does not get hurt, right? The last one, the purpose of negative feedback is to correct a problem, behavior, and attitude. As I have already said, the purpose of negative feedback must not be to insult others, to let others down, right? It should be to help others improve. Well, an effective feedback should be clear. It should not be vague that you should do something to improve yourself. Well, what is that something? Maybe a clear feedback would be that, okay, you should work on your this, like if I give language related feedback, then clear feedback would be, well, you should work more on your conditional one. Now the individual knows that, okay, I should work in this one, right? Second, feedback should be well timed. If it is too delayed, then that is not a well timed feedback, right? Then it should be specific, right? Specific means, well, do something to overcome this problem. Well, what is that something? How would that receiver know what is that something? So it should be specific. For example, we can say, well, work on your language clarity. And even within language clarity, it can be said, well, work on the volume, work on the pitch of your language or tone. That is more specific as compared to do something to improve your language, right? Well, this feedback should be with right attitude. If it is negative feedback, do not say you made this mistake, you do not know anything, you cannot do it. That is a wrong attitude. Instead of this, we can say, well, we often make such mistakes. It means that when the person knows that, okay, the somebody who gives the feedback can also make the mistakes, and of course we all of us can make mistakes, and we do make mistakes. So right attitude would be, well, we sometimes make such errors, but we should work in this way. So instead of labeling the person that, okay, only you did it and you are wrong, so maybe this attitude should be changed towards we. Well, it should be representative. The feedback should be representative. It should be relevant. Uh, like feedback of that individual. Only that feedback should be given, which is representative feedback in that particular task. There might be dozens of things that you would like to communicate, but in that particular task, in that particular situation, that should be relevant to that person. it should be impersonal, right? Instead of getting personal with the person, that you and I, it's not fight between you and I, it's actually a feedback that is given to improve someone, or that is given to motivate someone, or that is given to encourage someone. The last one is informative. The feedback should be informative. After getting the feedback, the receiver feels that, okay, fine, this is the new information that I need to incorporate to improve my skills or task performance. Okay, well, that's it for today's. Uh, Thank you very much and take care. Inshallah, see you in the next live session. I'll come up with the next recorded lecture.